Previously on Talk That Talk. If things have happened in those specific spaces with a child and an adult, if something happens like that at an educational level with a child and adult, they are reprimanded. And we have many of PDs about that and talking about why this is not okay. And we have all of these background. We got to get background checks in order to be educators and fingerprinted and blah, blah, blah. So there's always a way for them to do those checks and balances in an education setting. Whereas I don't know if they're doing those checks and balances in those particular spaces as mass bands and all-star bands. So I think that when you argue that point too, I think that you also have to realize there is constant reteaching about why it's not okay. And there's always constant background checks as an educator. Does it happen? Absolutely. It has happened before as an educator. I'm not going to sit up here and lie because that would be disingenuous of me to sit up here and say that doesn't happen. But what does happen is we are always checked on that shit. Like every year, it doesn't stop. So that's all I have to say on that particular front.
Shout out, if you don't mind, Jay. Berger called me and told me I should do this as a panel, and I text you. Mm-hmm. And something he said that I hadn't heard too many people say out loud. I've heard a lot of excuses for bad behavior in a lot of things band wise, not just mass bands, like band in general. Like, I don't know where we got to this point where we are so broken as a people that we just like, well, life is hard, so we just gonna accept whatever from whatever. And he said, well, when NOLA, we check people, and if you smell like you've been drinking, you out. And that was the first time I heard somebody articulate that. I'm not saying it's true, because don't know. But the fact of the matter is, when we start excusing, like saying like, oh, well, in here people get raped too, and DCI people get raped. Why are we at a point in our society that we just like, well, because it happens, it's okay. You judging me? No, we're not judging you. We're judging the act. Like, I think there's a misconception between judging an act and judging people who are running something. One is not causation. I'm gonna say that right now. Mass bands do not cause people to act like an ass. That's an individual choice. You'll never see me put blame on a group for individual acts. The bad habit argument, I don't even argue that either. Because you know what? Maybe if you got a lot of good pedagogy with your students and they trust you as an adult, they're not going to just take everybody's word and everybody's technique as Bible. Absolutely. Because I've had students, I let them go. I made a deal with them. I said, you know what? Y'all rehearsing one day a week. You go. Enjoy. When you come back, just know that I expect you to do this. And they lived up to that standard. So I don't think that causation happens through environment, but I also can't say the latter. Bad habits happen. And they could have had the bad habit before they showed up. But let's look at it like drugs. It only takes one time before you're hooked. That looks different for other people. Some people can do something and they never get hooked on it. Some people, that's an individual responsibility. I would not put that on mass bands. I would not put that on a band director. I put that on individual, but I will say kids are impressionable. And when in Rome, they will do what Rome is doing to fit in, because that is a teenager's mind cognitively. See, there's more to being a band director than just band director. If you did it a certain way, you had to take human psychology. And what we know is that habits form by a number of reasons. The more dopamine you get behind something, the more likely you're going to want to do it again. Now, it could be good, it could be bad, it could be neither. I think sometimes it's a little bit of neither in mass bands. I think that they enjoy it, they do it because they like it. I think some have the purpose of wanting to get kids off the street. Some have the purpose of wanting to do something that is not so regimented. And I think everybody has something that's not regimented in their life. So I ain't gonna demonize it. I'm not gonna criticize it. Before I go, Justin, there was one thing I meant to call you. I meant to call you. You said you could come up here and do it. I would never say that about your area. I would never say I can come down south and do what you do. You want to know why? Because you have experience, life experiences that are different than mine down there. I would never be so arrogant. And it really hurt my heart to hear you say that. I was like, whoa. Because you know what
I know, Crystal. With that, I know what I'm capable of. I know I can go anywhere and start off. I'm gonna stand on that anywhere. It's not a question. But
I get
it's not saying to be combative with you about it, and I definitely agree. You feel that way. I just know what I'm capable of. You know what I'm saying? Just take it as me being confident. You know what I'm saying? So I just think that,
fair
and
enough.
that's the answer is yes. I just know what I just know. Once I learn the area of something and understand how things work, I'm not afraid to say if I fail, but I damn sure try. You know what I'm saying? So I know it may not be a success, it may not be what's appealing to everybody, but I know I'm gonna try. But I know me. Yeah, yeah. But
You would
yeah, I think that
and that's fair. I just hear a lot of people say, "Oh, we could come up there, y'all," because it sends a narrative that a whole school district can't be poo. Like, yeah, no, no, I'm telling you,
all right.
because
I just want to let you finish because I got a lot I want to say.
there's just too many other factors that nobody ever talks about between what makes a band director good and bad. And sometimes it's not even that they're bad; they're just in a shitty area.
Situation, a bad situation.
But
And
I will say this. I will say this. I will say this. Unfortunately, from what I was told, that's just excuses.
And I'm gonna use that. I'm gonna run with it. I swam around with it.